Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Jett. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode. Lucky for Jett that Blair is a terrible, terrible shot, or that could have been way differently. It's kind of interesting because I kind of would have halfway expected Jett to kind of meet up with the others and Evans to kind of figure that all out, but I guess she was like, at this point I don't know who to trust, because she might not know whether that's 100% Blair or whether the whole point was to kind of put her in a position to like help with this situation and then put a bullet in her head, because she doesn't know that much about Bestick, so it's like, what could he really be up to? I figure like you play a more important role in that regard, but I can understand that high stakes situation. Plus, you need to get the hell out of there before cops get involved, because there have been so many damn gunshots. So obviously, she's asking Maria to look after Alice and stuff. Like, I even love her being like, "Are you awake? Are you going to remember?" She's like, "No." I mean, yes, just be careful. So there's that. And even Evans was like, "Oh, I was wondering if you two would work," because I even love it, like Jett being like, "I told you, like, you're the one that put me in this situation. I didn't set up the whole Blair situation," because he's like, "Oh, it is kind of interesting, I mean, the coincidence behind it." It's like, no, you set up the job. I had no idea Blair was going to be there until you introduced. But it's kind of like, oh, you two are buddies, you ran off. It's like, but the security footage showed that like things are kind of, they weren't in cahoots or whatever. And Jett's like, yeah, that was your fuck up. So now they kind of have to correct the mistake. Turns out Evans killed the other two because couldn't take the chance that they might have been on it too, but most likely it was just Blair. They know definitely Jett wasn't involved, so that's the reason why she's not getting a bullet in her head like the other two did. It's so interesting because even Evans is kind of agreeing with like, yeah, honestly, if I like the reason why he didn't say anything about what they were actually stealing, in this particular case being gold bars, he didn't say anything because he was just following orders, because Bestick was like, don't tell her anything. It's like, I don't always agree with my boss, but I follow the orders. So if it was his case, he would have told him exactly what they were going after, because someone like Blair would have taken advantage of the situation. It's like, she probably would have told him like, yeah, it's probably not the best idea to be bringing Blair along in a job where we're literally going to steal gold bars. He decided to take the chance because it's like, oh, it's right there in front of me. Granted, I don't think he knows who he's getting associated with. He probably just like, oh, I'm being hired for a job, whatever, I can rip them off. Yeah. So now Jett has to track him down, because it's like, yeah, because if she doesn't, it's going to be trouble for her. I even love her going to his place. He had one of the gold bars in a cereal box with some money and some drugs. I even love that whole scene with Orlando, and I think his buddy's name is Slim. And she's like, it's like the conversation, I forgot what it was called, like comes up about him like potentially having a limp dick. And Orlando trying to be hard and everything, like, oh, you want to see my limp dick? And she's like, yeah, you want to see if he's like, you want to see if it's limp? And she's like, yeah. And he got quiet, and his buddy's like clowning him. He's like, yo, she outmatched you or something. It's like, yeah, he was actually speechless because he wasn't expecting her to actually say that. But it did seem like a beautiful relationship, a bond was kind of created in that moment. Hopefully we get to see more of Orlando. Probably not, but it'd be pretty dope. So that's interesting. But it turns out that like a week ago he got a meeting from someone. That particular person was Frank Sweeney. So it seems like it's probably a situation that even though Frank is paralyzed, he still runs things. Maybe that's kind of supposed to be a similar parallel to Charlie, because Charlie isn't as powerful as he was before, but he still got connections and he still has power and he's still ruthless. That's what I'm wondering about. The thing is, like, was Frank the one that set Blair up with the job to make sure that he does it, or like does Blair actually owe Frank some money? He's actually scared of him, because even after all this time they were saying like, oh yeah, he was bowing down to him and stuff like that, showing respect. So it's like, yeah, no matter what condition Frank's in, he still is like, yo, I need to be mindful of this situation. So stealing some of that gold might have been about paying off some debts he owes to Frank. So that might be what this might be all about. It's like, here's a shit ton of money, I can pay it all off and I can disappear. So that's probably what this might have been about. Once again, we'll ultimately have to wait and see in that regards. What's interesting is that Jett also visits a dude named Carlyle. Now that's really interesting because she kind of breaks down her situation, because she wants him to kind of help her find some more information on Bestick, because obviously she's playing, because for her she's like, yeah, I know Junior set me up, the question is how much does Charlie know? And she's also talking about Bestick's a dead man, he just doesn't know it yet. Because for one, it's like him killing Rufus is enough for her to seek revenge. She just got to be in a position to kind of, because she's got so many things going at once. She's trying to help, Jackie, the cops in particular, take down Junior because that's kind of revenge against him, but also she's not trying to screw everything up with Charlie because she knows if she makes the wrong move, Charlie's coming after her, but she also needs to make sure she takes down Bessic and kill him, not only for Rufus, but also to ensure her safety, Maria's safety, as well as Alice's safety. So quite the web Jett has found herself, tangled up in. I also skipped over it a little bit, but let's not forget the fact that she went to Phoenix to get patched up and everything. I also love that line of, Phoenix kind of being nosy and stuff like that. Found out about the gold bars and everything, but she's like, oh, I can keep this to myself. I won't say anything. Obviously, I won't say anything to my brother, but I love the whole thing of like her being like, see, I'm a hooker with a heart of, and pulls up the gold bars, and she doesn't say anything. And Phoenix is like, I'm a hooker with a heart of, and Jett, get out my face. And she's like, basically saying that Jett's no fun. She was kind of a party pooper. She could have. I just love that was her response. Get out my face. But it turns out like we got a little insight into Jett and Phoenix's past. They were in jail together. Actually, like Jett actually saved her from being beat up by this lady in prison and stuff like that. I mean, it was about to get brutal. But that's the cool thing too about Jett. She didn't kill the ladies. She cut one lady's neck with a blade. It was a toothbrush, but a carved up sharpened toothbrush. But it was like, yeah, you get to the medic soon enough essentially that you'll be fine. And then also broke one lady's finger. The other lady, she's like, stop struggling, you'll be passing out soon. And it's like, yo. And I love that Phoenix is a talker, that the entire time she's like, Jett's not saying anything, and and just Phoenix is going on and on. I did find it fascinating what she was saying about the bullet thing. That one kind of stuck out to me. Was the whole aspect of like, oh yeah, people think like, pulling out the bullets, the most important thing. It's like the least important thing because that might be the only thing kind of obviously keeping the wound. Because certain times, like when people get stabbed in certain places, at least when you see on TV and stuff like that, it's always like, no, leave this particular thing in because it's the only thing clotting the wound right now. It's basically a similar thing, and I just thought that was kind of interesting. And it's just like, oh, budding friendship kind of started there. That was like 2 years ago. So, and I guess for Phoenix, she feels indebted to Jett. We still don't really 100% know why Jett did what she did. I guess like you can make the argument, maybe she saw something in Phoenix, saw who Phoenix was, maybe she felt a little sympathy, maybe, Jett doesn't like people weaker getting bullied. Maybe, maybe there's some little bit of heroism in that. Maybe she had ulterior motives, because even she talks about it later on, because, it's like, everyone does everything for some reason. So it's like, maybe she knew that Phoenix could be, someone that nice to have around because she didn't really have anyone else in a prison that she kicked it with. I mean, from what we can tell, it looked like Phoenix was the only friend she had. And I guess in prison, the solitude and stuff like that, kind of being on your own, like having someone there is kind of nice, having someone you can call a friend, So that's where my mindset's on, and we'll ultimately have to wait and see. I hope we get more insight into that, kind of see more of their friendship budding and stuff like that, so. It is kind of neat because Phoenix is talking about the fact is that she, doesn't do drugs. Like the only reason why she has needles and stuff in her house is just, because girls in that line of work get a little messed up. So she wants to look after them and stuff like that. And obviously she's only doing this long enough until she gets out of debt. And it's like, oh, what do you want to do after that? Like for her, she wants to go back to school and stuff. So she just wants Jett to know, being like, yeah, the fact of the matter is like, I'm not going to squander the chance you gave me. I'm going to do right by the second chance that you gave me. Like, I want to make you proud, essentially. So I thought that's kind of like a nice element between them. Then there's the whole Maria situation with Jett. I think is kind of interesting. Like the whole, like, you don't worry about me and I won't worry about you. And it's like, okay, like, but obviously Maria is worried because everything, obviously she's probably not being forefront about everything with her condition, like, because she doesn't really want to talk about it, and Jett doesn't really want her to kind of stress about everything. It's just like, make sure you and Alice are okay, because it's like, okay, so who are we looking out for? And Jett's pretty much like everybody, because like she can't really make any moves because she doesn't, she doesn't want to screw things up with Charlie because she wants to find out like how much Charlie knows, and she can't go to Charlie about Bessic until she learns more about him. And obviously she has to wait for the police to take down Junior, so she has to keep them on a shorter leash. It's just kind of like enemies all around. Like I said, like it's a very complicated web she finds herself tangled in. What I also thought was kind of interesting were the dreams that Maria was talking about. And, you know, I thought it was kind of this sweet symbolic moment. I also love the fact that Jett was reading that book to her daughter, and she was kind of like questioning certain things that kind of came up in a book and everything. It's like, oh, what happened to you? And she's like, I got shot. You got shot? I said, I got a shot. I'm like, I think you're a little too open, Jett. Because there's even one moment, what was it Alice said? That it was like, oh, it was like she's full of crap or something like that. And Jett was just sitting there for a moment until Maria was kind of giving her face, like, say something. And she's like, oh, right. I love that, like, so much stuff just kind of flies over her head when it comes to this whole mother thing. I wonder, like, what things were like between her and Alice beforehand. Like, you know, was she a very hands-on mother? Like, because obviously, you know, her and Maria have known each other, obviously, once again, like, they met the day she found out she was pregnant with Alice. So she's probably always been there to look after her, you know. So Jett probably doesn't have the biggest practice on, like, being a mother, the do's and the don'ts, essentially, you know. So it was just kind of an adorable little thing there. But I also, the symbolic scene I was talking about was, like, the fact is, like, obviously it was just Jett and then Alice, but then Maria, kind of because of her dream, because obviously she is worried. She tries to pretend like she isn't, because obviously, like, you know, I think it's a combination of, like, her not having much time left. So I think that's why she's also worried, because it's like, if anything happens, you know, I won't be able to be there for Alice and Jett. But, like, laying down next to them, and it's like all their heartbeats kind of beating in unison like that. I don't know. It's just, there's beauty to it, you know, and I think that's so nice. I love Charlie still trying to find that music to make it, you know, it's like, oh, for his rendezvous with Jett. It does seem like Charlie doesn't know, like, because I think Junior doesn't want to say anything, because for one, once again, like I brought up, Junior's trying to get his father out of the picture, so he's not trying to do it. It's like, no, the sooner he kind of gets things escalated, but I don't know if that was his point to make, because he already knew, like, things between Salas and Charlie were bad, so he knew doing what he did would escalate that, or was he just not really thinking? It almost feels like Charlie doesn't think. It seems like he's just kind of very impulsive. I could be wrong, but we'll see. Which that whole Saleh's situation was very interesting, because he's obviously looking after his mom, and we see Carl and Benny there. They basically leave a photo being like, oh yeah, we had a gun to your mom's head. Time to get out, but I doubt it's going to... Because even Charlie, I thought was kind of interesting, being like, the fact is, in his younger days, he would have just, I think, basically just killed Saleh as his mom. But now it's like, okay, we'll handle things this way. So now a war is going to basically get started, because I doubt Saleh is just going to back down, especially because you threatened his mom. Maybe, but I highly doubt it. And once again, it depends on where Junior stands in all this, whether or not he's going to be fanning the flames or not. There's also Jackie and Josie, his partner. They end up going to Bobby, which means, you know, Bobby has his connection to Junior. It is kind of interesting hearing them kind of talk about the house and everything. I'm like, oh yeah, here we could be brushing our teeth next to each other, or you could be, you know, what was it, or you could be here while I'm in the tub and everything. It's, you know, in a complicated relationship they're in right now. It's also interesting because there's also the robbery thing that came up, and it's like, oh yeah, it's sadly no security footage, and it's like, oh yeah, like Josie, she thinks it was you, and she's like, oh, she does, doesn't she? Yeah, that's why she isn't here right now. It's like, yeah, so Josie continues and shows herself to be pretty determined about, you know, not liking Jett. But I wonder, in a weird way, does Jett actually like her, or does Jett just not like her, but she's all acting like, oh, I'm curious, is it like genuine, like, oh, I actually kind of do like her, like our love-hate relationship we kind of got going on right now, I kind of dig it, or is it just kind of like a, nah, I'm being cheeky, but I hate her too, like she hates me? I don't know, it's interesting. And then there's the other, like, very depressing side of things. It's Dwight. He's stalking Rosalie. It's like, oh, we're not separated. It's like, my wife is going out there dressed like a whore, and it's just... I was like, oh, because I knew, like, I was like, Benny's out there. I was like, okay, Benny, please do something, because you're out there. Because even Carl's like, oh, come on, man, don't do this. Because he's even telling Carl to get a life. Carl's like, I'm really not going to respond to that, because it's like, do you understand the hypocrisy? You know, the irony behind you saying that to me about getting a life? But it's like, Benny ended up leaving. I was like, oh, please don't. She died, didn't she? And we see Dwight leave. I'm like, oh, shit, that sucks. Luckily, we see her later on. She is alive, but damn. The moment Benny finds out, because he is stalking her, he's going to see that and be like, oh. Because he left just before he found out Dwight was there. To be fair, like, Dwight had already gotten there, so he obviously, you know, Benny's following Rosalie, so he didn't see that, you know, didn't see Dwight was there, both getting there ahead of time or leaving, because they left essentially at the same time. Maybe there's supposed to be some parallels there, right? The fact is they ended up leaving at the same time too, but I'm curious to see. It seems like they might be setting up Rosalie's story to be kind of a revenge thing. I'm curious. It's so interesting, once again, that whole storyline's interesting because it's like the guy that kidnapped and threatened her. I mean, to be fair, even though he threatened her, he was kind of in a twisted way kind to her. It's the fact is, even though, he did also, Benny did also kill her lover, so... But it's twisted that the criminal in this case treats her better than her husband does. I mean, to be fair, once again, it's not just her husband that's stalking her, it's also Benny. So it's a weird situation to be in that he's kind of trying to be her guardian angel. I'm wondering why he took such a fascination in her. Has it always been like this with any job similar to this? Or is it just something about Rosalie? Like, did he fall in love? Did this turn into some, like, backwards Stockholm syndrome where, like, the kidnappers fall in love with their victims in some twisted sense? Like, I think that happens in some cases. Either way, like, it's a really, really weird situation. So I'm curious to see where that ultimately ends up taking us. Like I said, ultimately also where this Blair situation takes us as well. Jett trying to track him down, especially if Frank Sweeney's kind of in the mix too. It's definitely going to be interesting to see where all of this takes us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.